A while back, I rated your Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl teams. And also a little while ago, we had what I considered to be the best team to use in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl also go up. In that video, I asked you guys to give me what you consider the best teams to be. So today, I have 3 teams picked out from the comments section of the best team for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And I'm going to be giving my thoughts and rating them. These are some pretty powerful options, but let's see how they do. The first team we have today comes from Jorge Espinoza. And also, thanks for watching the content, means a lot. Their team consists of Infernape, Crobat, Snorlax, Clefable, Garchomp, and Magnezone. First and foremost, the starter option is fantastic. I'm not going to talk about how good Infernape is because I already have thousands of times this past month. It's the best starter for an in-game playthrough. There's no debate. Crobat, I can understand the appeal, but Staraptor is a much better option as a flying type. However, as a poison type, I would argue it could work if Pokemon like Roserade or Drapion didn't exist. Drapion also has access to some Dark type stab, and Dark is a typing that does decently well in Sinnoh, especially against the likes of Fantina and Lucian. Crobat's level up move pool is also lackluster, and you're pretty much forced to use TMs for it to even stand a chance. It's not the worst option you could use though, but any of the 3 Mons I mentioned earlier are just better choices. Clefable is 100% and is what I would consider to be the best fairy type to use for a Sinnoh playthrough. But in your case, I feel your team is lacking some speed, so Gardevoir isn't a bad choice for replacement, or if you want just pure psychic power, Alakazam with Dazzling Gleam can put in the work too. Garchomp and Magnezone, however, I feel don't really have enough merit. Garchomp is too late game because you have to wait until after the 6th gym to even capture it, plus as a Gibble and Gabite, it just doesn't have the right power. It doesn't become viable until it becomes a Garchomp, and that's not until level 48. I would just use Gastrodon instead for the ground type, because it has bulk, reliable recovery, and decent stab options. Mamoswine also shreds, don't sleep on that either. Electric types aren't hugely effective in Sinnoh, so it just seems like a waste. There are faster electrics you could use, but honestly, I would just use something entirely different. This slot comes down to what do you really want to use? The rest of your team pretty much covers everything you need. Snorlax is a great filler spot, and you have a lot of options to use in terms of coverage. But I will say, Ambipom isn't totally a bad choice though either if you feel like you need more speed. That'll do it for my thoughts on Jorge's team. Let's move on to the next one. For our next team, I wanted to at least showcase one team built around a starter other than Infernape. And I think this team, built by BRAYDEN and LAMBERT, is actually a fairly interesting one. Their team consists of Empoleon, Roserade, Staraptor, Houndoom, Lucario, and Frostlass. Despite BRAYDEN not choosing the best starter to start off their team, I think the team is built in a way that at least functions well around Empoleon for the most part. However, I do think there are actually a few glaring issues with this team. But first, what did BRAYDEN's team do well? BRAYDEN's starter choice being Empoleon offers us a really bulky water type early on in our journey, which is very useful when taking on opponents such as Rourke or Byron. I also think that the choice of Staraptor should offer a lot to this team, due to Staraptor's rather strong level up move pool thanks to Close Combat and Brave Bird being able to handle a lot of opposing Pokemon. Roserade, as not only a grass type, but a poison type, is a rather strong choice for Sinnoh, being a real lifesaver against battles such as Gardenia and Bertha's teams. On paper, it may seem to help against Wake's team, however, you'll need to be careful of Floatzel, as it does carry Ice Fang for grass types. Finally, having Houndoom should make this team less reliant on Staraptor for both Gardenia and Fantina's teams. Overall, I think these 4 Pokemon at least start this team off rather strong, and I think even despite the weaknesses the team has, it should be able to at least put up a good fight against a majority of important battles in the region. I do think there are a couple of big holes with this team, however, and I'll start by addressing a Pokemon that I think needs to be replaced here for this team to function well, being Lucario. Lucario actually is a huge detriment to the team's potential because it adds to an already glaring weakness to ground types. While Empoleon and Roserade offensively can handle ground types, Empoleon has a weakness to the type, while Roserade is neutral thanks to its secondary typing of poison. Staraptor also has an issue switching against ground types, as a lot of them carry coverage in the form of rock type attacks. this team would be one that honestly could benefit from a Gastrodon, as despite being a second water type, I think Gastrodon helps significantly against a few important battles, such as Volcaner as well as Wix Gyarados. Especially Volcaner's team, where this team not only misses out on a ground type, but also only really has Roserade as a resist to electric. My only other issue with this team is Frostlass, as I'm really unsure why you actually need it on this team. The only battles it'd really be useful against would be Bertha and Lucian, which is really unfortunate because there's actually a ghost that would help this team immensely against Maylene's gym. If you replace Frostlass with Gengar, you're going to have a very strong ghost type option for these games. If you're unable to trade Pokemon, consider investing in Gardevoir instead, as it's at least a strong fighting resistance as well as a very useful ally against Cynthia's team. Speaking of Cynthia, I do want to mention that while Frostlass on paper has a really good matchup against her Garchomp, Gastrodon and Gardevoir together can ensure victory against this. Gastrodon should be guaranteed to take a single hit from Garchomp to use Ice Beam. And if you have gained some random defense and HP EVs during your journey, you might even take 2. The biggest issue though comes from the Yachi Berry, which basically means you're picking one Pokemon to die. And depending on how good the Frostlass you caught is, this might still be one-shot by Earthquake anyway. Overall, I think the first 4 Pokemon are fairly strong on this team. However, Lucario and Frostlass I think are just fairly outclassed because of the point in the story you encounter them. That should wrap up my thoughts for Brayden, so let's move on to our final team. Moving on to our final team today, we'll be discussing one of my favorite teams I saw in the comment section, which was built by Ren AKABA. Their team consists of Infernape, Roserade, Mamoswine, Gardevoir, and Magnezone. Ren decides to go for a team that's based on
Grand Underground
Pokemon, which I personally am a fan of, as it gives a bit more variety than a lot of the other teams I saw, while still keeping some strong synergy. Infernape, as previously mentioned, is a phenomenal Pokemon in these games, as well as Roserade for both a grass and poison type here. Gyarados, as I mentioned in my initial video, despite starting off very weak, is a very valuable team member, which is also very easy to obtain. Gyarados fills a lot of holes on this roster, such as being a valuable switch-in against ground types, and being a strong sweeper for this team. You can actually find all of these as soon as you obtain access to the Grand Underground. All 3 are found in fairly easy methods, due to being the starting Pokemon for the Grand Underground, with Ralts in Fountain Spring Cave, Magnemite in Spacious Cave, and Swinub in Swampy Cave, and Bog Sunk Cave. All of these areas are available right away too, so you don't need to wait until you reach Snow Point to encounter Swinub, as you can just find it in the Icy Cave area for example. This means we can utilize Pokemon such as Magnezone for Crasher Wake or Gardevoir against Maylene. This should hopefully make the early part of your playthrough a lot easier, as you'll be able to have a full team of 6 by the time you reach Eterna City. But just how useful are these Pokemon going to be? I think there's actually a lot of use for Gardevoir in these games, especially with its fairy typing being incredibly useful against Cynthia's Garchomp and Spiritomb. I think Mamoswine can also be a rather interesting ground type alternative to a Pokemon such as Gastrodon, as it's actually fairly effective against matchups such as Bertha and Cynthia, while still handling at least Volcaner's electric types. Mamoswine will be great for teams that prefer having a more offensive ground type if nothing else. So this is actually a really neat addition by Ren. However, you'll need to evolve it in my opinion for it to be useful. You'll need to use a hard scale to relearn Ancient Power on Piloswine in order to obtain your Mamoswine. However, you'll thankfully find 2 in the overworld. This means you won't need to go mining in order to have a Mamoswine, while still teaching Ice Fang to Gyarados if you want to use the set I recommended in my original best team video. I do, however, actually think Magnezone should be replaced, as I don't think it will actually be that useful for your team. You don't really need Magnezone for any battles past Crasher Wake, and I think this would be a perfect Pokemon to replace with Snorlax, as it will make your battle against Fantina significantly easier having a normal type. Staraptor also works here, however, if you prefer having a bit more of an offensive normal type. However, Snorlax will ultimately make your Fantina matchup easier due to its early access to Bite, which, if nothing else, should be better damage than Wing Attack from Staraptor would be against Fantina's team. Overall though, this team is actually still a really strong alternative, and I like the inclusion of Grand Underground encounters to spice up this team. So overall, we've gone over 3 very interesting team options for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. But how did these teams compare among each other? Starting with Jorge, I think their team did a strong job at showcasing a more balanced team, even if I disagree with a couple of the picks. Clefable and Snorlax are truthfully just such a strong defensive core though, that you can get by with these alongside Infernape. So despite my feelings on the other 3, I think this team can still definitely succeed in the right hands. I also love the strong attempt that BRAYDEN gave with Empoleon though, even if I think Lucario is a bit of an underwhelming option in these games. I think it really showcases that even without choosing Infernape, you can actually still build a really strong game that really only needs 4 Pokemon to shine against the majority of important battles in this region. However, for the strongest team of the group, I gotta give it to Ren's team, as this overall seems to match up well against the majority of trainers in the region, even though the matchup against Fantina is a bit lackluster. Pokemon such as Gyarados should be able to at least give her gym a run for its money. I think all 3 trainers did a good job here at making sure their teams at the very least had good synergy, as none of these teams really struggled with more than a single battle or 2 at most. While these may not be the best teams overall to use in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I definitely think these look like strong starts to potentially terrifying teams. I love how these games gave a lot more options for Pokemon compared to the original Diamond and Pearl, as I think it helped to create some potentially terrifying options for teams that we otherwise couldn't have seen, such as Houndoom on BRAYDEN's team or Gardevoir on Ren's team. Well, that wraps up me wrapping up your best teams for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Comment down below your thoughts on these teams, and let me know which one was your favorite. If you want to see me do this again in the future, let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this. Hey guys, thank you for enjoying another Mystic Umbreon video. It's exciting times for the Pokemon franchise, and I look forward to the coming months where it just keeps getting better. I want to give a huge thanks to my phenomenal team, and for the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all of this without them. If you guys are wanting some more bite-sized Mystic Umbreon content, please check out my TikTok, where I upload daily, as well as the Mystic Umbreon Shorts channel. If y'all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too, it really helps us out. I think it's time to wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon, and I'll see you next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.